Hey everyone! Before we start the episode, I wanted to give a trigger warning as we will be briefly referencing suicide and sexual violence in this episode. If you or anyone you know is in need of assistance, please call 988 or visit wannatalkaboutit.com. Hello friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Colo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Pulls on social media.
Hi everyone. On today's episode, Jen explains the Gemini Zodiac sign.
Welcome to the show. Grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
So, I wanted to give thanks to our monthly donors since it is the first episode of the month. So, thank you so much to Mozzie and also happy birthday. Thank you so much for always being a supporter even before Jen Colo was really created. You gave me my second tarot deck ever. And
Okay. We don't have to hype her up that much. We're good.
she also gave me my first set of crystals. I was not a crystal girly before Mozzie.
Mozzie's the best.
Mozzie is the best. She is the best hype lady out there. And she is better than Chicken. Tell him I said that. No, just kidding. Chicken and I have great music taste. But anyway, happy birthday and blessed solar return, Mozzie.
And then also Vanna, right?
Yes, thank you, Vanna, for being a monthly donor and supporting the podcast. And also, this is your season. You are also a Gemini. This is very interesting, and I'm going to dive in a little deeper, obviously, in this episode. But I am surrounded by Geminis, and I personally love it. So thank you, Vanna, for being a supporter, and happy early birthday.
Again, like Genesis mentioned, we are working on some big things. July 1st is a big date to come. We will keep everybody posted on what we are working on, but we got the wheels turning on some exciting things coming up. So keep an eye out for that. You can follow our socials. Genesis is on TikTok. Today she hit 666 followers. So thank you everybody who's followed. We're going to be doing more reels, more interaction. So if you want to see more like daily content, that's definitely a good place to check us out.
And we're also uploading the audio of our episodes to YouTube for those of you that prefer YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's a little bit slower. So if you don't see your favorite episode, just be tight with me because it takes a little bit to edit and upload. But we're working our way through our catalog. Alrighty, so we have a lot to discuss, but why don't we start? Actually, so this episode's very exciting. This is going to be our first in our series of covering all the zodiac signs. We figured since we have so many special Geminis in our life, we're going to start with Gemini season. So once the season for each astrological sign comes, then we'll be doing an episode for that. Next one is Leo?
No, next is Cancer.
Cancer, okay, cool. So next will be Cancer, obviously, when that comes, and we'll go through all 12 signs. No, yeah. How many are there?
12.
There are 12. Okay.
Yeah, there are 12 signs.
Got it, 12 signs. Awesome. So we had a pretty spirited conversation about the Spirit Guides episode. I thought it was really, very helpful, a really good, discussion. I learned a lot personally. I had no idea kind of how that was set up. I had an assumption and you totally, changed my perception. So I thought that was really exciting.
Yes, I was very excited to explain how it works for me. And I was also very excited to hear from other folks as to how spirit guides work for them, because really, it's all what works for you. So Vanna actually stepped up to the plate for you.
I know. So huge shout out. I got major validation, which I knew I was right because how could I be wrong? But Vanna, thank you so much for your insight. This was wonderful. I bragged and kind of shoved it in Genesis' face a little bit. So Vanna said, so Premier Pools actually was onto something in this episode. I know that we have deities from different pantheons, but there is something called pop culture egregore. where people or practitioners will use a modern pop culture figure as their deities and spiritual team. They even build altars for them and do rituals with their pop culture egregore. So Premier Pool said, Batman. I have a friend who has Batman, which is part of their altar space to help him to always fight for justice. Technically, someone can use Pokemon or even Scooby-Doo. Anything from movies, video games, or even your favorite movie actor. The choices are endless. So, yeah. Thank you so much. Again, so I think I have my spirit team is better than your spirit team is what we're concluding.
Yes, kudos to Vanna for always just being so knowledgeable, and I did not know people do that. That's more just because I'm quite reserved with my own spirit team journey until the last episode, so I love learning something new and seeing just how people can really make spirituality work for them. That's all what it is tapping into your own magic and whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm. And we also talked about that show American Gods, but funny enough, we talked about rewatching it, but now we're watching Lucifer, which is kind of also along the same lines. It follows like the story of like Lucifer if he had left hell. Really good show recommendation for anybody who takes our recommendations. Vanna also talked about a little bit about how you're unintentionally working with Themis as well?
Yes, so I did not realize I've been working with Themis a lot, really since Saturn moved into Pisces on, I want to say it was March 7th, 2023, if my memory serves me well. So during my day job, and also just like the recent themes of my life, I've really been drawn towards Lady Justice. You know, what you think of like with the scales and the sword in front of courthouses. And then I buy a lot of those court candles. So yeah, I've really been evoking Themis, which I was like, I should have put two and two together, but I just didn't. So that was also very interesting to see. So thank you so much.
So would you say Themis is not part of your spirit team, or have they got promoted?
I think so. You've been promoted. One of my elite employees, or whatever the TikTok sound goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was awesome.
All right. And now, Vanna, you really came through for us on this spirit guides. I think that's your niche. So I don't know, maybe we have you on the podcast one day to talk a little bit more about it. Again, we're not really, I think you are an expert in some things, Genesis. So, you know, I give you credit where credit is due, but, you know, a lot of these things we're not real experts in. So, you know, it might be nice having somebody who, you know, specializes in this.
And that's something that we are eventually working towards, is having guests on the show, because you can't know everything. Or maybe y'all are experts on the same thing through a different lens. Like, that's what this show is all about. It's not just like me preaching, right? That's kind of boring. I like the back and forth and I like learning from people. But yeah, Vanna is actually starting her own practice. And again, she specializes in spirit guides. She also does tarot, but honestly, her jam is spirit guides and spiritual advice. So definitely reach out. She is also doing some merch, like some interesting, I don't know if they're like oils or what you're doing, but you create cool stuff. You also created that beautiful mat for me. So just everyone check out Vanna's pages. They're awesome. But she did want to share how she began working with Hecate and Hades. So trigger warning for like the next 3 minutes, but I really appreciate the bravery and authenticity. It's good to know who your practitioner is. So these are all Vanna's words, and she's comfortable with me reading this. So here goes. How I started my deity partnership with Hecate. On the night of May 24th, 2023, I was going to end my life. A few days prior, I went to an apothecary shop up in Santa Rosa, past San Francisco, to pick up some witchy supplies for my practice. At the time, I was only a witch. Now, back to the night where it all started. I looked at myself in my apartment bathroom mirror with tears running down my face. I was dealing with stress and anger issues at the time that I just couldn't take anymore. In the corner of my eye, I noticed a small bottle of dragon's blood oil that I had bought at the apothecary. I took the bottle and opened it. I started rubbing the oil on my forehead and cried out, "Please, anybody, help me." And all of a sudden, a name popped into my head, Hecate. I have never heard of that word or name before in my life, but the next thing that came out of my mouth was, "Hecate, please help me. I offer you myself as sacrifice." Now, just letting you listeners out there know, offering your whole self isn't the smartest idea. My situation was very difficult and I had no control over my words. Right after that sentence left my lips, I realized what I had said and imminently went into a panic attack. I went to the bed right after, and boy, I tell you, it scared the living hell out of me. I had a dream where everything and everyone that caused me pain or decisions that drastically affected my life played like a movie being played in front of me. All I could do was cry and scream, "Stop." But everything kept playing. I viewed myself in third person. I'm a rape victim, and it happened twice in my life. To watch myself being violated right in front of me while I still couldn't do anything tore me apart. All of a sudden, a pair of women's hands covered my eyes. Her words were soft and kind. She told me, "I can't make all of this go away, but I'll help you recover from all of this. So will you continue to walk in this world tall and strong? Will you accept my offer?" I said, yes. When I woke up, I was in sleep paralysis. It felt like a woman was sitting on my chest, rubbing my forehead, telling me everything was going to be okay. After I was released, I felt light as a feather. When I tried to remember the bad things in my past, it just felt like watching TV static. That morning, I looked up to Hecate, and ever since that day, I've been her devotee.
What a powerful story, and I'm so sorry you went through those experiences. As somebody who identifies as a man, I don't think I can ever obviously put my shoes in those situations, but all I can do is empathize and appreciate your vulnerability with us, as well as sharing your story, because I think that's where a lot of power comes from for anybody who's victimized in any sense, is being able to share your story, because there's people out there who are probably experiencing or going through the same things too. So to hear that there's strength in people who have been through similar situations, I think is very appreciated. So I know we kind of keep a light tone here on this podcast, and a lot of it is, more just you and I speaking. But this just goes to show that, people are listening, and we, at a certain point, have the obligation to our listeners to be fully transparent, right, with the stories, with everything that we discuss on this podcast. Because as fun and as lighthearted as we keep it, we've had some stories submitted to us, and I want to pay it the respect that it deserves. So again, thank you so much for your vulnerability, and I really appreciate you entering our lives at this point. And it's more than this podcast. I know there's a personal relationship with you and Genesis, and I can't wait to kind of grow that circle a little bit. So thank you again.
And I'm so glad that you're still here. I think we met shortly after this night. So it's amazing how everything comes together and you find your community once you open yourself up to it.
Definitely.
So really quick, her relationship with Hades, I'll keep it short. This one is a little more interesting. So she was at home and her family had pomegranate trees. She saw a dark shadow basically rustling in the tree, and she yelled out, "Show yourself." Once the pomegranate trees started to shake, and they shook violently after she yelled at it, this black smoke started coming out of the tree, and it lunged right at her. She looked up towards the sky, and her eyes rolled to the back of her head. She woke up with sleep paralysis. And she also heard, hey lady, you have very nice legs." Right after that, a woman's voice said, "That's not funny." And the male voice laughed and proceeded to say, "Hey, are you listening? Are you awake?" She finally got released from the sleep paralysis and felt like a corpse coming out of a grave. All of her energy was gone and she was about to pass out again. But she did more research and consulted with other experts in this area. They agreed that it was probably Hades. And then she did a tarot spread and a ritual to identify him. And she did identify Hades. After that, once she communicated, she had a dream. And he said, "You found me. Wonderful, my child. You have great potential and are worthy to work with." So ever since then, she's been working with Hades, but she also began to worship Persephone / Kore as a sign of respect to Hades, to include his wife.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a very powerful spirit team and cool topic. Last week I knew nothing about spirit teams, but now I feel like I'm like understanding it. So yeah, like you said, the beauty of community. So thank you again for sharing those stories, Vanna. I really appreciate it. And kind of good segue into your zodiac sign. So, all right, tell us, Genesis, about would you say infamous sign? Like, we'll talk about it, I guess, later, but tell us about Geminis.
I would really say misunderstood and infamous Gemini season. So Geminis are an air sign. Air signs are usually very friendly, very communicative. They're also one of the mutable signs, so they go with the flow. They can see things from multiple perspectives. Their symbol is the twins. So like Leo is represented by lion and Cancer is represented by crab. Gemini is the twins. So a lot of people can take that as being two-faced just because they're really chatty, they are very social, but I don't know. I feel like anybody can be two-faced. I don't think that it's necessarily just Geminis. Also, Pisces has two fish, but no one ever talks about Pisces being two-faced. So, yeah.
So, two-faced, I think, usually has a negative connotation. Mm-hmm. Is this aligned with that negative connotation, or it's more like there's two maybe beings or personalities within one person?
When I'm saying two-faced, I mean like the standard definition of like this person, is a backstabber, doesn't say what they mean. That's the reputation that Gemini has.
Oh, that's the reputation. Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Got it.
Because they are represented by the twins, two people, and just because they're really misunderstood, but I don't think so. Geminis are some of the most loyal people I've ever met personally, but
okay.
To each their own.
And then you mentioned they're an air sign. What are some other air signs?
The other air signs are Libra and Aquarius.
Okay, and what are some like Aquarius isn't a water sign?
I know, you would think aqua, but no.
Oh, okay.
Air sign.
And what are some characteristics of air signs?
Yeah, they're very friendly. They are very considerate of others. They're very chatty to different degrees. Gemini, I would say, is like the nicest balance between Libras and Aquariuses, in my opinion, just because Libras are very flirty, sort of like life of the party. They're almost like regal just because they're ruled by Venus. But then Aquarius, they're really friendly, but they're just very misunderstood. They're just a very big oddball. So they like want to care for people, but they can't communicate it. So then people end up thinking like they're weird. So Geminis, I feel like, are in the middle where, imagine it's a high school and you have all these cliques, right? Gemini is the person that can go to any clique.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're very fluid, like you said.
But because of that, people think that they're two-faced, but they're not.
I wonder if it's not that they're two-faced. I wonder if they have like really good social skills. And like you said, if they can fit anywhere, like, some people might say like, oh, like how are they hanging out with that group of people? And then on the other end, they're hanging out with this group of people. So it's maybe not that they're two-faced, it's that they're very socially adept and understand like camaraderie, social cues, how to fit in.
They also have a lot of interests. So similar to Sagittarius, which they're actually opposing each other. So like exactly 180 degrees away from each other. They also love to like study and have a broad interest, but the difference between a Gemini and a Sagittarius in this is that Gemini likes to know a little bit about everything. So they never truly like master a skill other than yapping, to be honest.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you're talking shit about Gemini.
No, that's that's a common joke going around right now. It's yapping season because it's Gemini season.
Okay.
But anyway.
Only two supporters on the podcast, and you're here dragging their zodiac sign through the mud. Got it.
No, I say that with all the love in my heart. But then Sagittarius will like to dive deep with everything. So then they're like a Renaissance man. Like they just know everything about everything. So that's the interesting part. But I know that it's like, oh, you're dragging Geminis, but again, going back to
You're like, they're dragging themselves.
no. Going back to our astrology episode, we have every sign within us.
Yeah.
So this season is really activating the parts of our chart that are ruled by Gemini. So for example, the part of my chart that is ruled by Gemini is my ninth house. Ninth house controls trips, like not necessarily like full-blown vacations, but it could be a lot of like travel for various reasons, and also spirituality.
Okay.
Which we're laying the groundwork for some exciting things coming January 1st. But you know what I mean by this. It's very tied to the spirituality.
January 1st.
July.
Oh, I was like,
My bad.
I wasn't told about this.
No, sorry. I meant July 1st.
Got it. Okay.
And then we're also going to be, you're going to be traveling a lot. I'm going to be traveling a lot, sometimes together, sometimes not. So
Yeah.
that's activating a lot in my ninth house.
Yeah.
But then for you, your Gemini is, I'm going to pull it up real quick. But meanwhile, let's talk about some famous Geminis.
Well, okay. Before we go at that, I always like the spicy stuff. Like, what is a good compatible romantic partner for Geminis?
I would say Sagittarius.
Okay.
Because any sign that is 180 degrees away, they want the same things you want. They might just have a different approach for it. But I feel like Gemini might be a little bit of like the dreamer, and then Sagittarius wants the same dream, but they're a little bit more of a realist. So I feel like that's a nice balance. Also, air and fire are also pretty compatible. Mm-hmm. So I would say that is a good sign to gravitate towards if you're a Gemini, or vice versa. If you're a Sagittarius, go look for a Gemini.
Okay. It'd be interesting to see for our Gemini listeners who your romantic partner is as far as their astrological sign.
I would say that more challenging placements are definitely going to be water and earth signs, but specifically I would personally stay away from Pisces or Virgos if you're a Gemini.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's Gemini in my ninth house? No.
For you, it is a mix between your 6th and 7th house, because your chart is a little intercepted. So what that means is the math that I use can sometimes cut houses in half, and your houses are cut in half.
Well, what does that mean in general for me?
So 6th house is the house of daily routine. Mm-hmm. So I feel like recently you've been wanting to get more discipline since we started Gemini season. Like, I got to go back to the gym. I got to be doing this. I got to be doing that. So I feel like you're getting back to your routine. And then the 7th house is the house of not only love, but long-term partnership, which...
So there's somebody out there for me.
Which, I mean, we're starting something exciting July 1st. I wish I could say more than that, but trust me, it all aligns.
Yeah. I wonder if did I meet you during Gemini season? No.
We met during Sagittarius season.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else we need to know about our Geminis? I don't know. You're giving me bad vibes about Geminis. So
no, I think Geminis are wonderful.
Okay.
I will give you some examples of Geminis. And one person that I feel like really embodies a Gemini, which I love, you might not love so much, is Kendrick Lamar. He is a Pulitzer Prize winner for his raps. That is like unheard of, because he has such a way with words as an air sign. So he is a very successful Gemini.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's okay. He's not my favorite lyricist. I prefer J. Cole personally, but
J. Cole's also beautiful.
You definitely are more of a hip hop head than I am. I'm not too much. I mean, I like it, but I think I'd rather listen to like EDM music or go to a rave. Whereas, speaking of, birthdays and all that, I got Genesis her birthday present. Do you want to tell the people what it is?
Yes, part of the traveling we're doing is we got floor seats to go see Megan Thee Stallion. Thank you for my very early birthday present. I am so excited.
Yeah.
She is an Aquarius. I also love Aquariuses, but anyway. Another Gemini that maybe you might be a little more into is Peso Pluma. So
they're okay. I mean, they have one hit song. You really don't know me. Maybe there is a long-term partner out there for me. Because
okay, you know what? Maybe you don't like Geminis. I love Geminis.
I'm not saying I don't like Geminis, but you're 0 for 2 so far. So
okay, Anderson Cooper is also a Gemini.
A little better.
Award-winning journalist.
Yes.
We're getting a lot of themes here with like the words.
Ah, yes. Okay, and that's kind of what you mentioned a little bit earlier with like that almost curiosity for knowledge and art and culture. So
Blake Shelton. You like Blake Shelton?
I don't like Blake Shelton.
Who is the country? To me, all the country artists are the same.
Wow.
Who is the country artist you like?
I think my favorite country artist is probably Brad Paisley.
I
don't know if
I
he's a
got them
Gemini.
confused.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman.
It's not at my alley.
I'm
Sure.
talking about the
Okay.
vocal links. The fact that
Okay.
a lot of these people have like interesting fames based on like their ability to speak.
Okay. I looked up Brad Paisley. He's a Scorpio. which
Oh,
is
okay.
interesting.
Nice.
Any other famous ones?
Interestingly enough, Venus and Serena Williams, and then the Olsen twins are Geminis. So
Okay.
that's
I can definitely respect Venus and Serena. Actually, also the Olsen twins. They kind of left, the young Scarlet, Starlet, not Scarlet, the young Starlet life, and did really good with their business. So, yeah.
yeah.
And it was through a creative outlet for sure,
Mhm.
which was, I think, fashion. They had their own fashion brand. So, okay, better examples. Anybody else?
Tupac is also a Gemini.
Tupac's okay. Yeah. Not a hip hop head.
Oh my gosh, I am just striking out here.
You really are.
A lot of current world leaders are Geminis, but I'm not going to touch that right now.
Okay, so we talked about the famous people, but let's talk about the important people. So who are the important Geminis in our life?
No, sorry. I'm cracking up because how could I forget?
Who?
Freaking Kanye West is a Gemini.
Yeah, you're totally shaking out.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the Geminis any justice.
You're not painting them in a good light at all.
I love all these people, okay?
I mean, of course you do, but I don't know.
But sorry, you were saying the Geminis? Okay. So I just realized that like all of my childhood BFFs, or almost all of my childhood BFFs, are Geminis. My first friend ever, Myrna, is Gemini.
Okay.
And then my second friend, I did not have a lot of friends growing up, but my second friend,
You're about to name like 20, but you didn't have friends growing up. Okay.
my second friend from school, Amber, also a Gemini. I grew up with some of the neighborhood kids, and the girls in the neighborhood were all Geminis. It's very interesting that I have this link to like all these Geminis, and then another friend that I'm close to, I was like, how are we so different but we get along so well? And they have a Gemini moon. So yeah, me personally, I really get along with Geminis.
Nice.
Yeah.
I kind of looked up a couple more. So Angelina Jolie's a Gemini.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we just watched one of her movies, which was really good. Let's see who else. Michael Cera. I like Michael Cera. He's a McLovin from Superbad. That's a good one. Yeah, so there's a couple. There's a couple out there for sure. Natalie Portman. She went to I think it's Stanford and studied art, so that's a really good one. Yeah, so there are definitely some famous ones out there for sure. And so you had a couple friends growing up, and then obviously we mentioned Vanna. She's a Gemini. What Gemini traits do you see in Vanna?
That she knows so much. And also yesterday I noticed, girl, you have like 5 Instagram profiles. If that's not Gemini, I don't know what is. So you have your personal account, you have a photography account, you have a spiritual account, you have a cosplay account, and then I'm sure you have maybe 1 or 2 more that I can't think of right now. But yeah, so Vanna, a lot of knowledge, a lot of interest in a lot of different things. my good friend Daisy After Hours, loves to she loves to do different workshops. Like she'll do, crocheting and then like soap making. And she's like, why can't I just stick to one hobby? And it's like, because you're a Gemini and you want to do all the things.
Yeah.
But you move on, like, not, I wouldn't say quickly, but like you like to bounce around and try everything that life has to offer. And why not? You're embodying your truth, and that's beautiful.
Okay. And then let's talk about our girl Mozzie. So I want to kind of paint a picture. We talk about Mozzie a lot on this podcast, maybe a little too much, but we met her. Actually, we met her through her fiance. They're engaged. Eric, and he goes by Chicken. So if you hear us refer to Chicken, then that's who we're talking about. But then we all quickly kind of became really good friends. You vibe really well with her. I vibe really well with her. So just to give a little insight, when we first visited, about a third of their living room is dedicated to their tortoise tank, and it has like a full like an aquarium, and beyond that, her home or her living room. Have you ever seen that 90s Batman? I talk about Batman way too much. But have you ever seen the 90s Tim Burton Batman movie, Batman and Robin? Poison Ivy is one of the main villains in that. So she actually has like a layer full of plants. And I always think of her when she sends us pictures of her plants. It looks like Poison Ivy's layer, which is incredible. The aesthetic is really good. She's also a really fabulous makeup artist. She's always kind of doing fun things for 4th of July. Not 4th of July, for Halloween. So I think I'm understanding the motifs, correct?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, tortoise mom, plant mom, also does her own tarot crystal stuff, finance baddie.
Yes.
Yeah, just so much. Yeah, and also super friendly. Geminis are also very funny. Like once you get to know them on a personal level, I think Mozzie is hilarious. Mm-hmm. Always has me in stitches.
Are they reserved at first though? Like, are they this type of people that you have to open up? Or like once you get to know them, they open up, or kind of right off the bat?
That depends on their moon sign.
Oh, okay.
The moon sign controls like how quickly someone opens up, but basically once you get to know them, whether it's like 2 seconds later or like a month later, they're pretty hilarious.
Once it opens up to you. Yeah. Awesome. I don't know if this person is a Gemini, but I'm kind of getting this as well. I had a roommate in college. I used to refer to him as a corporate hippie because he was like I went to school in San Francisco, so he was a very typical kind of hippie. He's kind of the first person who showed me how to roll a joint. He had really long, luscious hair and was very, go with the flow. He introduced me to Fish, which, if you don't know who Fish is, they're just, this kind of psychedelic band, maybe like the Grateful Dead. It's all instrumental, so, every Fish song is, 45 minutes. So he had that huge hippie vibe. But he also took care of his shit. It was really interesting. You'd go to his room, smelled like weed and incense, and just kind of laid back. And then he'd be like, all right, time to go to work. And he would just, put up his hair in a man bun, put on his shirt, and then just head out the door to his corporate job, which was really interesting. So I'm almost curious if he was a Gemini, because it sounds like he could have been. That's the first thing I thought about, kind of like that corporate hippie vibe. On one end, they are passionate about their interests, they live their true self, but they also know how to kind of take care of business.
It sounds like it. And this is what I mean when people are they're two-faced because they're not consistent. It's no, they're just complex and fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good stuff. So, luckily we're not Gemini. I'm just kidding.
So, speaking of Gemini astrology, when a planet moves into Gemini, it really takes on the characteristics or the archetype of Gemini. So if Venus is in Gemini, let's say, people might be feeling extra flirty. They might want to casually date a little more. Right now, Jupiter is in Gemini. So again, what part of your chart gets activated? The sun is also in Gemini. So really just like having a great time socializing, talking to people, collaborating with people might be more prosperous than before. Teamwork might make the dream work a little bit better during this season. If Saturn is in Gemini, Saturn controls like productivity. You might find it a little bit difficult to stay to your routine because you just want to do all the things. That's basically like the equation, if you will, for how when a planet moves into that part of the sky, how it's affected by Gemini energy.
Got it. And then what are the months for Gemini? Because I have a question. So it's May to June. What's like the Gemini month?
So it's, yes, around May, June, but the exact days are always changing because the way that the seasons are laid out is dependent on the solstices and the equinoxes.
Okay.
So basically, it's like a whole formula where you have to like, from a solstice to an equinox, basically like divide by 3, and then each one is like a point. But that's why they are around the same month, but they're not always the same start and end day. Okay. It depends on the year.
The reason I ask is because it also is very conducive to just the changing of the seasons, right? Around this time, in May, June, the senioritis kicks in, summer's coming, schools are out, water parks are opening. So I'm also kind of curious, like, yeah, it's all those activities, but it's also around the time that, like, based on just the weather seasons, we have a huge shift, right? We're exiting, spring? And we're going into summer, and it's kind of like a big shift there too, right?
So that's actually what determines it if a sign is like fixed, cardinal, or mutable. Because like you mentioned and you caught on, we are transitioning into seasons. That's what makes Gemini a mutable sign, because it happens between the seasons. That's why they're so go with the flow, adaptable, empathetic, like multi-point of view type of energy.
Oh, okay. So that's what mutable means?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. Look at that. I'm learning as I discover here. So awesome. Anything else? Personal examples. Have you ever had any? Oh, 2 more questions for the personal examples. Have you ever had any bad experiences with Geminis?
Not personally, but politically, there are some people that are Geminis that I do not like. So
got it. Okay. And then, last but not least, because I need to make it about me, what is the compatibility between Geminis and Leo?
It's good because...
Ooh, you hesitated.
No. It's not like the best would be Sagittarius, but it's good because air and fire get along very nicely. Okay. So Geminis may give Leos a time of day because if the Leo's like, I need me time, me right now, Gemini's fine with that because they're pretty go with the flow. But the thing is that Gemini might not indulge a Leo in the depths that they want. A Gemini might say, yeah, you look great. Yeah, you're awesome all day long. But then Leo is like, but I need that depth. Like, why does my hair look good? Like, I need the details. And maybe Gemini won't give that to you. They'll be like a mini hype man, but not a full-blown hype man.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if I can kick it with Geminis. I need my ego stroke like 24/7. So.
Good. They'll do it part-time.
Good. Yeah, super interesting. Again, I guess you could kind of count it as a mini-series. We're going to go through all of these, and I'm really excited to learn more. So as your sign is coming up, get ready and, let us know your thoughts on your sign. And I can't wait to hear from our Geminis with what they have to say. So we had a few questions, and actually literally two questions, but they're really funny because, well, you'll see.
So from Daisy, who I mentioned is a Gemini, she said, why are Geminis the best? I do think that Geminis are amazing.
Yeah.
And again, everyone has Gemini within them. So everyone has amazing parts of their life.
Interestingly enough, with Daisy, her husband is also a Gemini, right?
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because you and I are both Leos and they're both Geminis. So kind of that weird connection there.
They probably have their moon and rising balancing out because they were born like the same year, 2 weeks apart, their generational planets are going to be the same. I think the only things that might change are Mercury, Venus, maybe Mars, but what will definitely change, unless it's like a lottery type of coincidence, is their moon and their rising. If somehow someone got together with someone with the exact same placements, that would be like shocking.
So what is so what is the compatibility with two Geminis like in a romantic setting?
I feel like they can definitely get along and give each other what they need. They have that easy like
Go with the
push
flow.
and pull, go with the flow. But then if someone needs to make a decision, they're like, so what do you want to do?
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't know. What do you want to do?
I wonder how like choosing where to go to dinner goes with them.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, it's just like strong decisions are not, they could be a little more like passive and not so much active, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that they have a nice go with the flow life. And I'm not talking about specifically Daisy and
Oh,
her
I am.
man.
Let's throw their
No.
let's throw their
I'm talking about two Geminis in general.
Cool. And then Vanna says, why do people hate Geminis? We always get a bad rap. As much as I joke, I mean, I don't really know anything about signs. I know my sign barely. I wouldn't tell you. Like when people are like, guess my sign, I'm like, I don't know, Pokemon? Like, I have no idea. So I didn't know Geminis got a bad rap. So at least from me, Vanna, there's no hate because I didn't know they were hated on. But I think you touched on it really well, right? They, I guess, get that bad sign. You know, maybe it's the elusiveness too, because people always want that like strong connection. As humans, I think, even psychologically speaking, we try to find our pack, we try to find our social group. And from what you're describing, Geminis can sometimes just be like, I'm here if you need me, I'm not here if you don't.
You know what? Geminis would make the best counselors because they're not going to indulge you, but they'll validate you. And then they will also gently say, have you considered this point of view? Because Gemini can see multiple points of views.
Interesting. And not everybody always likes their counselors. Yeah. Maybe they just kind of hold up a mirror to you and sometimes you don't like what you see, but it doesn't sound like they do it from a malicious intentionality.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Awesome. And then did Mercy have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
So Mercy literally just texted them right now. She's like,
God,
wait.
last minute.
But it's okay. She said, do you think my sister is annoying because she's a Gemini? No, I love
That's
your
right. We
sister.
didn't even get to talk about her sister. Stephanie?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she is not annoying. She's really cool. So she actually DM'd me today. She added me on TikTok and she's like, "Get off TikTok," which I thought was really funny.
We already answered some of these. Okay. How does a Gemini sun differ from a Gemini moon or a Gemini rising? How can understanding these placements help in comprehending a Gemini's personality better? So, a Gemini rising. So Geminis are, and when a rising is in a sign, it's controlling your first house, which is how you come off to people, how you perceive the world. It can also represent your relationship with yourself and your body. Geminis could, in the rising, could always be doing like a, what is the word I'm looking for? Always updating their wardrobe. They might constantly be experimenting with styles like, oh, that's cute. I want to try that. Oh, I'm over that hairstyle. Now I want to try this. They may also be fluid and ever evolving in their beliefs or how they see the world, which is great because we all should consider from multiple points of views. And when we learn new information, they're just a little more authentic with like, this is where I am in my life as a Gemini rising. A Gemini, and they're also really, really friendly. People would probably gravitate towards them and like want to spill their deepest secrets just because they look really friendly. And then a Gemini moon, I think that is the funniest placement. Like Gemini moons could probably be really good comedians because the moon controls the emotions, but they could also be very empathetic, and Geminis, but specifically Gemini moons, I think would be really great counselors because of that. And then Gemini sun is like your essence, basically your main mission in life. Think about like missions versus side quests in video games. So a Gemini would probably be a social butterfly, would probably be surrounded by a lot of friends, probably be a socialite, would probably maybe work with people. I don't think that Gemini sons would necessarily do work that is very like isolating, like working in IT or something. Definitely can't see that. But that's just an example of how those three placements can differ. And then, like we talked about earlier, like Venus and Gemini versus Saturn and Gemini. So that's basically the formulae.
Awesome. Well, a lot of love to all our Geminis out there. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Your Gemini, and don't come after us if you didn't. We'll be posting some of our topics for July. We're trying to follow a format, but we've fallen behind as far as just like the topics, but we're going to post what they are. For sure, though, this month we are going to be touching on phrenology, so keep an eye out for that.
Yes, and if you have any suggestions, let us know. We will post the next topics very soon. Again, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at Genkahlo, GenKhlo, or if you prefer to get in touch by email, tarotwithgenesis@gmail.com. And again, you can donate to the podcast if you enjoy the content. You can be a recurring donor for as little as 99 cents a month, or if you prefer to send a one-time donation, you can also check out our link tree in my bios on social media and just donate through there. I have my Venmo, my PayPal, my Cash App, all those things.
Alright, everybody. Happy Gemini season.
Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off.